I found a research problem and we need to solve it. So this is the research problem. So I mean, if you're lucky, your supervisor can directly tell you the research problem. Other than that, I mean, most of the time you have to do yourself literature review in order to find the research problem. Okay, so if I were you, in my mind, first of all, the question should be, if I want to do a research, so what area should I choose? So first of all, we have to decide about our area. So this is one of the most important question which we ask from ourselves. So, okay, I want to do PhD or masters or project, a research project. So what area should I choose? So this is one of the most important step. And this actually builds your career, because if you have decided the wrong research area, for example, if you say, okay, I will work in maybe telecom engineering, yeah, or telecommunication. So maybe telecommunication is not the hottest field these days. So I mean, you will waste your time. So this is a very important step, though it is very easy to follow, but it's a very important, because you have to spend next 10 years in your career on this area if you have decided to do your master's or PhD in particular area. So how to choose the research area? So this is one of the most important question. Or what area should I choose if I want to do my research project or maybe PhD or masters? So for instance, most of the time when I see any call, a research project call, so I see I have to decide on what area I need to write a proposal so that it should have a higher chances of acceptance. So for example, if I talk about Pakistan, so in Pakistan, we have three major issues. Sorry, education, healthcare, and climate change. So if I write some proposal maybe on climate change using deep learning or artificial intelligence, so I have maximal chances to win the project. Okay, so it's very important to identify the right area. So if I talk about the computer science field, so we have several areas, like I can work on machine learning, I can work on deep learning, I can work on big data analytics, I can work on blockchain, cybersecurity, cloud computing, fog computing, network security, software-defined network, and several others, right? So if I talk about these days, I mean, generative AI, federated AI, explainable AI, agentic AI are very, very, hot areas in the field of computer science these days. Okay, so how to identify or how to verify that whatever the area you have chosen is right for you or not? So normally what I do is I use, if you can look at this academic database. For example, this is the academic database. I'm using Scopus or Web of Science. Okay, so I mean, we can use these academic databases to identify what areas are in demand these days. So for example, if I write here a simple query, I want to search generative AI or Gen AI, and if I search here, so I may found a lot of articles. For example, I currently found 9,951 documents, right? If you look at here, I can see this query brought 9,951 articles. So let's I am focusing from 2015, for example, to today. So let's filter some of the articles. Yeah. So again, 9,951. So let's analyze the results. So you have this button called Analyze Results. So it will show you the graph like this, which will tell you the trend of this particular area. For example, from 2018 to 2025, what is the trend of this generative AI? So if you look at this trend, so this field was very, I mean, almost zero article has been published from 2018 to 2022, maybe, and then it suddenly it can be seen there's a huge rise in articles from 2022 to 2024, I mean, we are in 2025. So up to 2025, you can see from January to this day, around 2,784 articles have been published on generative AI. So if you can see the trend, I mean, trend of generative AI is increasing from 2018 to 2025. So if you look at this trend, you can decide this field may be good for you to work in, and it may go more 10 years, right? So I mean, we have to choose the fields like this where there's a huge demand in the market. Okay. So you can see the trends from here also, Scopus. So whenever you want to choose any area of a research project or MS or PhD, so this is the scientific way to see whether your area is good or bad. Okay. I hope this is clear. So through this, you can finally, so don't, I mean, we must not depend on the supervisors. Okay, you have to work on, for example, recommended systems because there's a huge need of it. So to verify it, please come to these sources like Scopus, Web of Science, search for it and analyze the result to see whether, I mean, really that field is needed in the future or not. Okay. So I hope this is clear to how to identify the area. If clear, then please thumbs up. Excellent. Okay, so if you remember the research process, so the first step was to identify the research area. Then second is topic. So once you have chosen, okay, your area is, for example, generative AI. So under the generative AI, what topic should I work on? Okay, for my PhD thesis or master's thesis or maybe research, what topic should I choose under this area, which is generative AI, for example? So this is the next step in the research. Okay. So, okay. So before I go to the topic, if you want to choose any area, so for that, you must have an excellent background knowledge about it. So for example, if you have chosen, okay, you have to work in generative AI. So do not directly start the research in generative AI. So first of all, you have to have a grip on that area. So how you can get a grip on generative AI, for example, or area like that. So for that, you have to perform some steps. For example, you have to read the iconic papers. So what do you mean by the iconic papers? Those papers which are very hot in this area, you have to read those papers. You have to read some book chapters on generative AI. Maybe you have to watch the videos or video series on that area. And you also listen the experts on that talking about that areas from, I mean, like TED Talks or some other platforms. Okay. So first of all, if you want to jump in any area, you have to be expert in that area. Okay. So it's not like, for example, if you have chosen this area and directly you start working on that area or doing the research on that area. So no, first of all, you have to opt the background knowledge in it. Not only the theoretical knowledge, but also the practical knowledge. For example, if I talk about the generative AI, so you should know what is generative AI, how it is different from simple AI, and what are different algorithms work under the area of generative AI. What are the transformers? What is the self-attention model? So you have to read all these concepts theoretically. Then again, you have to perform via some programming language like Python or R language or any other tool you are familiar with. So you have to gain both theoretical as well as practical knowledge. Then you can, think about the project in it. Because if you directly, read the papers on generative AI, so many of the things you will not understand because those papers will talk on, maybe they talk on some concepts which you are not familiar with. So better to gain background knowledge on those. Okay. So for example, this is example. If I talk about deep learning, for instance, you thought to work in deep learning area. So maybe you can find some papers on deep learning. Like there are 23 papers which help you to understand the deep learning processes. You can search for those papers. Like for example, I'm reading the iconic papers on deep learning. So when I search deep learning, the first paper is the iconic paper of deep learning having 18,000 citations. So maybe I go to YouTube and watch videos on deep learning series. Okay, so this is how I can gain a knowledge, theoretical as well as practical knowledge. Okay, so you see, if you look at here, there are this is the whole series on PyTorch using deep learning using PyTorch, TensorFlow. This is a series on TensorFlow. So if you want to learn the deep learning concepts, so here's a series of TensorFlow. Okay. Okay, so second step is topic. Okay, now for example, if you have selected the area and you decided to work in either deep learning or generative AI, now under the deep learning or generative AI, what topic you will work on? Okay, so topic is the narrower version of the area. Okay, so how to look for a research topic? Now, how can I know under the generative AI what are the topics available, or under the deep learning what topics are available? Okay, or under the IoT what topics are available? On what topic should I work? Okay, so if you want to look for the topic, so every author writes the paper. Whenever every author writes the paper, look at this paper. For example, if you look at this, for example, this is one of the paper. Okay, so this is on data fusion, for example, on human activity recognition. So every author put some keywords. Okay, so you can get the idea of the topics from those keywords. For example, these are the keywords like activity detection, data fusion, deep learning, health monitoring. So these show some topics. The other approach is you can also go to the ChatGPT and ask it. For example, if I ask ChatGPT, can you recommend me top 10 topics under the area of applied deep learning where I can do research? Okay, let's make it more. Can you recommend top 10 topics under the area of applied deep learning and medical imaging where I can do research? Let's see what this actually. So it's telling you like these days, I mean, this concept is very, very popular. Self-supervised learning. Self-supervised learning for medical image analysis. For example, if you have some X-ray images related to, for example, tumor, so you can employ self-supervised learning to classify those X-ray images. You can also work on, for example, medical multi-model learning for medical images. So these are all the topics which are, under the deep learning area. So you can work on any of these topics. Okay, so this is how you can have an idea about the topic. Okay, so I told you two ways. One is when you read the paper, you can look for the keywords. From keywords, you will come to know, okay, what are the topics under the area of deep learning. And the second one is you can also take the help from LLMs like ChatGPT or DeepSeek to get the ideas about the topics. Okay, so these are some of the list of topics I already listed here. For example, if you are interested to work in the area of machine learning, so these are some of the topics available in machine learning. These are some of the topics available in applied machine learning. So for example, fraud detection using machine learning, predictive maintenance using machine learning, flood prediction using machine learning, disease prediction using machine learning, sentiment analysis and fake news detection from using machine learning, customer churn prediction in telecom using behavioral and usage data, and so on. Okay, so these are some of the topics under GenAI. Okay, for example, using LLMs for legal document summarization and analysis. Okay, AI powered code generation and debugging assistant for developers, and so on. Okay, so these are some of the topics under applied deep learning and with medical image classification. Okay, so these are some of the ways to find the topic. Okay, any question till here? Everyone clear? Before I go on research problem, please thumbs up if you are clear about it.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure, you can ask.
Okay, so let's suppose if we have a topic that is within these domains like deep learning, generative AI, etc., but their research and their application is so relatively new that if you search them on Scopus, they would have like around 30 or 50 articles just very recently published from 2024 and onwards. So would you consider that to be a good research topic because it's so new? Or does it have to have some precedence before?
No, I think it's good because 30 is good enough. I mean, if you find the relevant 30 articles, so it's good to start with. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I consider it good because 30 is not small number. 30 is a good number. Okay. So normally, I'm not sure whether Bilal, you are in master's or a PhD. So can you tell me?
I'm in master in data science.
Master in data. Okay. So when you do project or research, I mean, normally when we do PhD, So in PhD, we have to add 3 types of paper. One is called the iconic paper, other one is called the core papers, and the third one is called the supporting papers. So iconic papers are which are very generic. For example, if I'm working in deep learning, so the iconic paper for me is the introduction to deep learning, the introduction to AI. Okay, so these are iconic papers for me, which are very generic in nature. And the second one is core papers. For example, if I'm working in breast cancer classification using deep learning, so I have to have some core papers of the authors who worked on breast cancer classification using deep learning. The third one is supporting paper, which actually supports your justifications. Okay, so normally in thesis we need to have 15 to 20 core papers, not more than that. Okay, and if I talk about the iconic papers, so normally you have 20 to 30 iconic papers, and again 40 to 50 supporting papers. So for core papers, I mean they are relatively fewer number. Okay, I hope I answered your question, Bilal.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, excellent. Any other question before I move on? Okay. So still we are not on our main topic right now. So currently I am telling you, if you want to do research, so you have to choose area, then you have to choose topic. Then now the next step is under the topic, what research I should perform. For example, if I look at this next slide, so there are 3 examples. I am asking questions from all of you. So if I consider the first bullet, which mentions to predict breast cancer from mammogram images, is this a good research problem? It's an area or a problem or a topic. What do you think? You can type here. The first scenario which I gave you, it's a good research area or a topic or a problem. What do you think? Anyone?
I believe the topic actually, not a problem per
It's a
se.
topic.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so it's a topic. Yeah, it's a topic because many authors, many researchers are working around the globe on this topic called the breast cancer classification from the mammogram images. Okay, so it's not a research problem. So many researchers are confused between the topic and problem, because I'm also supervising around 5 PhD scholars here in Pakistan, and 2 are in Malaysia and 1 in Australia. So most of the time they are very confused between the topic and problem. So topic is more generic, problem is the very niche point or area. Okay, so if I talk about the first bullet, so it's talking about the breast cancer classification from mammogram images. So it looks like a broad topic, not the area. So for example, a student A or scholar A can work on mammogram images to classify whether the image has cancer or not. Scholar B can also work on that. Scholar C can also work on that. Okay, so this is a topic. So maybe scholar A is working on it using the machine learning. Scholar B is working on it using the deep learning. Scholar C is working on it using the transformer. So all 3 can work. So this is not a problem, but this is a topic. Similarly, if I talk about the second example, to classify email into ham or spam. So is this good research problem or it's a topic? What do you think? Anyone? To classify email into spam or ham, it's a problem or a topic? Anyone can type here if you're reluctant to. Also a topic. Okay, topic. Yeah, excellent. So it's a topic because several scholars around the globe can classify the email. Can work on this topic. It's not a problem again. Okay, so I'll tell you what is the problem then. The third one is also a problem because we are interested to identify the car registration number using the image. Okay, so this is also a topic. So several authors can work on this topic. Then what is the problem? So if you want to find the problem, for example, if you have chosen this, the first topic, you want to work on deep learning area, under the deep learning, you want to classify the breast cancer using the, for example, mammogram images. So for that, you have to first of all find the research problem. So how can you now find the research problem? So for finding the research problem, you have to follow all these steps. First of all, you have to do extensive critical literature review. So if you want to identify or find the problem, so you have to do literature review. You have to use academic databases to find the papers on that topic. And then you have to read those papers. You have to identify some weaknesses, limitations in those papers, and you can work on one of the limitations you identified. Okay. So if you want to find research problem, you have to have a very good prerequisite knowledge on that topic. You have to read some iconic paper on the topic. Okay. And sometime, if you are very lucky, you just can read the latest articles and you can come up with the research problem. Okay. So we understood if I just provide the conclusion till now. So what is our conclusion? So if you want to find research problem, so you have to perform the literature review. So we do perform the literature review because we need to find the research problem. Okay. Now, for me, it was very boring task. When I was in my PhD, so Prof asked me to do literature review. I felt very boring while doing a literature review. Then I attended one workshop called Research Tools in University Malaya. Actually, Prof Liana told me to join their workshop, and I learned a lot of skills from that workshop, how to do literature review in order to find the research problem. So one of the resource person, his name was Nadir. He was very expert in different tools of literature review. He introduced a lot of tools. He taught us about how to use those tools to perform literature review in order to find out the problem. So I mean that workshop helped me a lot to do the literature review in a scientific way, actually, by using different tools. So I will also help you to go through those tools. Okay, so I hope I am clear till now. So because we want to identify the research gap, so for that we need to perform the literature review. So what is literature review? So literature review is nothing, actually. It's an account of what has been published on a topic by accredited scholars and researchers. Okay, on your topic, what others are doing, what others have done, actually, what others have published. So you have to read all those articles, and you have to critically analyze all those articles, and you have to identify somehow the weakness in those articles. And that weakness is actually research problem for you, which you will improve in order to perform your PhD or master's. Okay. So for example, if I go to some tool, let's perform some tool. So one of the tool is, for example, this Scopus. So let's write some query on Scopus. So, okay, if you are familiar with this Scopus, so this is the search criteria, and this is the search query. So you have to put search query over here, and you have to put search criteria over here. So in search criteria, normally we have two important search criteria. One is called article title, and the other one is called abstract. So if I choose article title, and if I write here, for example, deep learning, and again, I'm writing here article title and sentiment, for example, analysis. Okay, deep learning and sentiment analysis. So if you look at this query, I want to search the keyword called deep learning. Okay, and I want to search this keyword in article title. So if you look at this article has certain structures. Okay, if you look at here, this is article title. So if I've chosen article title, so it will search the search query or search keyword in this title. Okay, even if I choose abstract, so abstract means now the software will search this keyword in title, in abstract, and in the keywords, all these three. So if you want a narrow search, so you always choose article title. If you want a broader search, so you have to choose abstract. So like Bilal asked me a question. He found around 30 articles. So I'm not sure whether Bilal has chosen, article title or abstract. So Bilal, if you have chosen article title, so maybe you have to expand your search to abstract to find out the more articles. If you already have done abstract, then it's okay, no worries. Okay. So let's see. So if I write here deep learning, so I have chosen the area deep learning. I'm working on a deep learning area, or in deep learning, I want to work on sentiment analysis. So let's see how many articles are there. Okay, so you can see here in deep learning and sentiment analysis, I have around 1062 articles. And if you look at here, it's showing me a different categories. I can, if I want to just see the papers related to computer science, I can just choose here and limit my search to computer science. Okay, so it will reduce the number from 1062 to 920. Okay, and if you look at here, if you want to omit the conference articles and just want to consider the journal articles, so you have to choose this. So again, your search will be accordingly. Okay. So year-wise search you can also do. I mean, for example, if you want to just consider latest articles from 2022, for example, to today. So just write from 2022 to 2025. So you can just narrow down your search. So here it is. Now I have reduced the number of articles from 1062 to 251. Okay. So I can just download and see what are relevant to my research and what are not relevant to my research, and then I can read it. Okay. Of course, you cannot read all 251 articles. So there are a lot of approaches to deal with it. So I'll let you know in subsequent slides. Okay. Okay. So any question till here? How many of you are familiar with the Scopus? Can you put in, if you're familiar, you can put in chat. Scopus or Web of Science? Okay, very few. Okay. Excellent. So very few. Huh? Okay. Okay, so for literature review, you have to search the articles in those academic databases. Okay, many of these scholars are just searching the article from Google Scholar. So if you talk about this Google Scholar, I mean, Google Scholar is, yes, it's an academic database, but it's not a credible database. Okay, if I talk about the Google Scholar, it's the academic database, but it's not the, credible database, because it's freely available and every journal is indexed in Google Scholar. Most of the journals are also indexed in Google Scholars. So the aim of Google Scholar is to become the largest academic database. The aim of the Web of Science is to become the most credible academic database. The aim of the Scopus is to become the most credible academic database. So you see, we have different academic databases. So the purpose of every database is different. So if I talk about the Web of Science, it just indexed those journals which are very, very credible. But if I talk about the Google, you and me can initiate a new journal and we can ask Google to please index our journal. So it can index our journal, no worries. So Google Scholar does not care about the quality. However, Web of Science and Scopus do care about the quality. So normally when you do research, so I suggest to use these credible databases because they publish credible research. Okay, after the critical review process. Okay, so better to use these databases. If you want to find the paper, you have to use these databases. Okay, it's better to use. And these not only provide you the paper, you can also see a lot of other analysis in these tools. Okay. So for example, if I talk about this Google, so on Google, you can see a lot of analysis. Let's see, if I talk about the Scopus, you can see a lot of analysis here. So for example, if I talk about this topic on generative AI, so in generative AI, this organization published a lot of articles. If I talk about the country, USA published a lot of articles on generative AI. So if you are interested to pursue your PhD in generative AI, so this is a good indication that USA provides a lot of opportunity to work in generative AI. Okay. If you want funding, so National Science Foundation provide a lot of funding on generative AI. Okay. So these provide a lot of other indicators if you use these databases. So these are not free. You have to have the credentials for using it. So luckily, University Malaya, or I mean the library of University Malaya, provides all these academic databases which are credible in nature. Okay, so a literature review, I told you what is this. I mean, a literature review is nothing actually. You have to read what other colleagues have done in a particular research topic, and you have to read it in order to find some limitation or weakness in the research of existing researchers. Okay. Okay, so if you are doing some research project, or if you're doing master's thesis or PhD thesis, or you're writing the article, so you have to write literature review. Okay, so this is important ingredient in research project, in thesis, in paper also. Okay. Okay, so what is the process of conducting the systematic literature review? So the process is very simple. So you have to search the existing literature on your topic using the tools I told you, like Web of Science or Scopus. You have to choose, then you have to review all those articles, then you have to develop a conceptual framework, then finally you have to write it up. So I will explain every step in detail with the help of some practical tool. Okay, so let's see now. So let's start from beginning. Let's see, this is Scopus, and I want to search on this area. For example, this is sentiment analysis and deep learning. So you found around 251 articles. So let's dig out more. I mean, okay. So I want to download all these articles. So how can I download all these articles or the records? So for example, for that, you need to choose all the data, select all, and you can export in for example, CSV format. Okay, so this will give you the data in CSV format. So in CSV format, what columns you want to see? For example, authors, document title, abstract. So whatever the information you need, you can just check on. It will come into your CSV file. I just click on export. So it will give me all these 251 articles in CSV format. Okay, so you can see this CSV file here. I can right click and open with Excel. Okay, so you can see here, it gave you the author names, author's full name, okay, author IDs, the title of the paper, year in which these papers have been published, in which journal they have published, okay, the journal volume, issue, and so on. Okay, the abstract, everything is there. Okay, so just you need to read everything from here. Okay, you can also download all the references in EndNote. For example, if I click on RIS, so it will give me the record in EndNote format. Okay, if I click here, so again I want to, for example, export. So if I have EndNote, I can export all these, import all these references into EndNote. Okay, so this gave me the file like scopus.ris. So if I click this file, so all the references will be, because I'm not using the commercial version, so it will just give me up to 10. But I mean, all references can be, if you're using this licensed version of the EndNote, it will import all the references for you. So right now, I mean, it just imported 10 references for me. Okay, so I hope this is clear how to import all these records in EndNote and Excel. Any confusion till here? If you're clear, please thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to find the full titles, so I mean, you can see we have downloaded the abstract in Excel file. So if you want to see the full PDF, so what you can do is you can just click on EndNote and select on, right click, and just click on Find Full Text. Find full text. So if you are working in library, so most of the time library has access to several databases and journals, so it will find you many of the papers. But right now I don't have access to many of the journals, so maybe it's not finding for me, but it's doing the things automatic in automated format. Okay, so searching. So for example, if anyone is okay, so if you are following this process, you can search and you can find many papers automatically. Okay, if there is any paper in the if it finds any paper, then you will find this pin sign here, so that shows you the paper has been found from the internet. Okay, like this one. Okay, so for example, sentiment analysis, so this is second paper it found. So there are 2 more to go, so 4 more to go, 3. Okay, 2 more to go. Okay, so I hope you understood the process. So for example, if I look at this paper, sentiment analysis of financial textual data, so if I double click, you can see all the details here. Even you can see the link and paper here. So you want to read the paper, you just double click and you can read from here. Okay. So when I was doing my PhD in University Malaya, so I normally do like this. I give this command to find the papers, and I went for prayer or sometime for lunch. Then I will come back. It found the paper for me in an automated way. So it saves a lot of my time of finding the paper. Okay, clear this point, how to find the full PDF? Any issue? Thumbs up, please, if you are clear about this point. Okay, safe, Bilal, J. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, now most of the time I saw one mistake when the scholars perform the literature review. When normally the newbie scholars perform the literature review, they focus on just the first one, which is summarizing the existing review. Actually, the purpose of doing the literature review is not to just summarize the existing work. The critical literature review must contain these 3 ingredients. One is the summarization part, the other one is critical reviewing part, and the third one is to identify the new opportunities or gaps in existing works. So every, good quality review must contain these 3 ingredients. If I want to see whether the review is a quality review or not, I just find these 3 ingredients. If I find these 3 ingredients, I say, yes, the work is very good on literature review. So let me explain every bit of these ingredients. For example, what do you mean by the summarizing the existing work? So when I talk about summarizing the existing work, so what I can see is, for example, I found here 10 papers. So I just can talk about every paper. Okay, in paper number 1, for sentiment analysis, author used LSTM. In paper number 2, for sentiment analysis, author used GRU. Paper number 3, author used LSTM. Paper number 4, author used BiLSTM, and so on. So if I just talk about this, so this is called summarization. I am just talking about summarization. I am summarizing the existing review. Okay. But when I say critical review, so critical analysis on literature review, it means you not only just to summarize, but you also critically appraise the work of those authors. So for example, you say, okay, the first author in paper number 1 employed, for example, long short-term memory LSTM and found maybe 79% accuracy. However, the work of author suffers from limited accuracy. This accuracy is because LSTM does not capture the long-term dependency in the text. So this is now you are talking about some critical appraisal. So LSTM does not obtain good accuracy. Why? Because in your opinion, LSTM does not opt for the long-term dependency in the text. Okay. So when you see like this, so you are talking about the critically reviewing the literature. Okay. Okay. So then the third is you have to provide some future opportunities also. I mean, future works also. Okay. In future, what can be done to identify some future work? So it means it's a good quality review. So these three should be there in any literature review. Okay. So let me explain with the help of some examples. You will be clear more about it. Okay. Okay, so let's see one example. I'm talking about this technical paper, for example, classification of autopsy reports through conceptual graph-based documentary presentation technique. Okay, so if I look at this title, so author is interested to classify the reports using a new technique called conceptual graph-based technique. Okay, let's see how author has done the review. So it's starting from very broad topic like automated text classification. Author is saying automated text classification, blah, blah, blah. In general, the text classification is performed using supervised, unsupervised, or semi-supervised technique. Of these techniques, supervised is more famous. So from automated text classification, it narrows down and came to the supervised version of the automated text classification. Then it is talking about the supervised text classification technique. And it says that it has many methods like BOW, is the conventional method of supervised document classification. But then it's showing some limitations of BOW. Several variants of BOW have been developed, such as Ngram, blah blah blah, right? So again, it's showing some limitations of Ngram. Then it says to overcome the limitation of Ngram, a new technique called graph-based technique has emerged. So it's talking about then graph-based technique. Okay. Then it's talking about the limitations in graph-based technique. Although many studies have shown that the performance of the graph-based technique is better than the BOW and Ngram. However, graph-based technique also suffers from two major weaknesses. So weakness number one and weakness number two. To overcome these two weaknesses, we propose conceptual graph-based technique. So you see how we can identify the gaps and how we are resolving it, right? So this is called the critical review. If I just say, okay, author 1 use BOW, author 2 use Ngram, author 3 use GDR, and I'm using CGDR. So here comes the question why you are using CGDR. What was wrong in GDR? What was wrong in Ngram? What was wrong in BOW? What were the limitations of these techniques, okay? So when you say some limitations and some strength of some existing techniques, it means you are critically reviewing the literature. Okay, it means you are critically reviewing the literature. For example, this is one of the paper on critical literature review on data fusion. So look at this. Author is saying when author is discussing some technique of fusion, like in data fusion, several sensors have been used. For example, accelerometer, gyroscope, and so on. So it's telling the strength and weakness of every sensor. So what are the strengths when you use the accelerometer? What are the weaknesses when you use the gyroscope? So it's not only summarizing the literature, but it's also providing the critical review where one can easily understand by reading this literature whether I have to use accelerometer or I have to use gyroscope. What are the strengths and weaknesses of, for example, gyroscope and so on. Okay, so when you do provide literature review in this format, that is called the critical literature review. So again, here the author is showing the different methods which are used for data fusion. For example, deep Boltzmann machine. So it's showing the strength and weakness of this method. So deep autoencoder. Again, these are the strength of deep autoencoder and these are the weaknesses of the deep autoencoder. So when you provide the literature in this format, it means you are doing the critical literature review where you are not only summarizing the methods, but you are also providing the strength and weakness of every method. Okay, so this is another example where author is showing some methods again with some strengths and weaknesses. Okay, So this is called the critical review. Okay, any question till now? If you have any question, you can ask me before I go on. So the crux is, yeah,
Srigalam,
yeah,
can I ask a question?
yeah, sure,
for the
sure. Yeah.
weakness part, does it normally stated in the research paper we read, or do we have to find it ourselves?
See, if you want to find the weakness of any method, for example, LSTM, if I'm talking about LSTM or support vector machine or any well-known technique, so you can find in that paper. I mean, if I'm using LSTM, so maybe I found some limitations of LSTM in LSTM paper. But for example, if you are talking about some research topic, so for example, LSTM for fake review detection. So if I want to write the weakness of LSTM in fake review detection, so I have to find this limitation in the paper which is on fake review detection using the LSTM technique. I hope I
see.
answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Great. Excellent. Okay, so any other question? Yeah, sure. Mavish, you have a question you can ask? Okay. Mavish, do you have a question? Okay, you can ask me, please.
Actually, I tried to type, but let me ask you.
Okay, Mavish, I'm sorry, I can't listen to your voice. If you have problem in your mic, you can type the question in chat box. I can answer it. Because we can't listen to you. Okay, Mavish, you can type the question. I can answer the what? Okay. So there's one more question. Can I do a comparison for the critical literature review, compare A and B? Yes, you can do a comparison. It's called the review of these reviews. So you can do it. Elmer, you ask a question, so you can do it. No worries. No, Mavish, we cannot hear you. We can't hear you, Mavish. Okay, meta-analysis, yes, you can do meta-analysis, but meta-analysis normally we perform in medicine. So in medicine field, it's very, very popular. I mean, it is ahead, one step ahead than systematic literature review. So my next topic is systematic literature review. So we will see the systematic literature review is one step ahead from normal critical literature review. And meta-analysis is again one step ahead from systematic literature review. So if I can further clear it. So there are three types of reviews. One is called the conventional literature review, CLR. Then we have SLR, systematic literature review. Then we have the meta-analysis. Okay, so like whatever I have talked till now is about the conventional literature review. Okay, so now I will talk on systematic literature review. Then we have one more called meta-analysis. Normally, the medicine people perform the meta-analysis. So, for example, if I talk about the COVID, so to dealt with COVID, different vaccines came. So if you want to quantitatively measure the effectiveness of those vaccines in a review format, so you have to perform the meta-analysis. Okay. So your topic is about mental health. Say, yes, you can perform the meta-analysis on mental health. Yes, you can perform. I hope I answered your question, Mavish. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so okay, the next topic is about the systematic literature review. So, okay, what is the difference between the conventional literature review and systematic literature review? In conventional literature review, we do perform literature review where a literature review has three ingredients. As I mentioned, one is called summarization, other one is called the critical appraisal, and the third one is called the future directions. One of the limitation of conventional literature review is we cannot reproduce it because, for example, Mr. A is performing a conventional literature review. He just found some papers and he performed a literature review on it. And he published a literature review, for example. So he cannot reproduce it because, I mean, he didn't follow any systematic process to find the literature. He just type a query on Google Scholar sometime on Web of Science, sometime on Scopus, and found some good papers, and then he provided some review on it. So that is called the conventional review. In systematic literature review, you have to write each and every step so that one can easily reproduce your research findings or review findings. So a systematic literature review has three parts. One is called the planning part, conduct part, and the reporting part. In planning part, first of all, you have to identify the research questions, what you want to perform, what review you want to do, then on what academic databases you will search your literature, how you will choose the study, and how will you exclude the study. How you will assess the criteria of the study. What quality assessment criteria should be there to choose any study, and what data you will extract from those papers. Okay. So this is called the planning phase. Then we have the conduct phase, where you have to search the query from different databases. Okay. You have to identify the keywords, formulate the keywords, select the primary studies. Then you have to assess the quality of the paper, extract the data, and finally perform the data synthesis. If I can show you one of my work, I have published one paper where I, sorry, it's not, sorry, I don't have this. Okay, let me show you here. If so this is my, for example, work here. So it's a systematic literature review on clinical text classification. So if you look at here, so I wrote everything. For example, how I come up with the keywords, how I created the query, what databases I used to search the paper. For example, Web of Science, Scopus, IEEE Explore, PubMed, Medicine, and so on. So what were the search results? So initially I found this, finally I found this. On the basis of what I included the study in my review and excluded the study from my review. So from every paper, what type of data I will extract? For example, type of clinical reports, various type of characteristics of data, features, algorithms, evaluation metrics. So I mean, everything I have written. So other than this, I have written everything in the paper. Okay, so this type of review is called the systematic literature review, where one can easily reproduce the results. Okay. Okay, so the last part is writing. Once you have conducted, then you have to finally write the review paper. Okay. So what is the difference between the systematic literature review and conventional literature review? So if you look at this, I mean, in conventional literature review, you do not form any protocol. I mean, you don't have any standard or a process to do the literature review. However, in systematic literature review, for example, you have a proper protocol. Okay. So in systematic literature review, objectives are very clear. I mean, your review questions are very clear. In normal literature review, your objectives may or may not be clear. So in systematic literature review, you must have to identify your inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria. However, in conventional literature review, it's not mandatory. Yeah. So search strategy, I mean, systematic literature review must contain the search strategy, or in literature review, simple literature review, it's not mandatory to have the search strategy, and so on. I mean, this is a difference between these two. Okay, so why do we write this is last slide, I think. Then I will take questions from you if you have any. So why normally we write the literature? So normally we write the literature because it gives you an overview in any particular research topic. Number two, if you are the professional, then maybe you write report where you sum up the literature and publish in some good journal. Okay, for scholars, we publish the literature review because they need to have a depth knowledge about the literature review or on a particular topic. Okay, so there may be several ways, reasons to write the literature review. In thesis, why actually you write the literature review? Because you have to justify your research gap. You have to show the research gap. That's the reason you normally put the literature review. So this is it from my side. So I think I have given you the concept of research. What is actually research? What is the process of research? And what is the critical literature review? What is systematic literature review, and the difference between two? If you have any further question, you can ask me, please. If any question, or if anything you want me to perform more. Maybe sorry, I didn't cover the meta-analysis because I don't have expertise in meta-analysis. But when I was doing my PhD, so I attended one workshop on it, meta-analysis, and understood many of his concepts like funnel graph and so on. But to this point, I have never performed the meta-analysis. Any other question? If you have, you can type or you can ask me. Yeah, how about after term literature review? Most papers use in the same methods, but the different only in language and location. Yes, it's a research gap. Yes. So right now, I mean, we published a paper where we identified the head speech written in Urdu. Okay. So that has been published in Q2 journal. So that's a research gap. Yes. So for example, if you are targeting some resource poor languages, low resource languages, so it's a research gap. And recently I'm supervising one master's thesis where one of the student is interested to classify the Sindhi alphabets. So like you have the data set called MNIST. So we are creating our own data set written in Sindhi language to convert, to classify those alphabets. So I hope I answer your question. Someone is asking me a question like this. Okay. Any other question if you have? Okay, no question. Then
Prof, I just asked
Yeah,
one
yeah.
question.
Yeah,
when
Aiza, sure.
when we want to write a systematic literature review paper, so actually, what is the best? I mean, pages of us. Like sometimes some people wrote very long. Some people wrote. What is actually the best pages for literature review? I mean, SLR paper.
Okay, thank you, Aiza, for asking this question. Okay, so if I talk about the number of pages, actually depends upon the objective. What is your objective of writing the literature review? So, for instance, if you just have mentioned there's just one objective, like you want to review the data set in a particular field, so maybe it's not a big paper or lengthy paper. But if you mention 4 or 5 objectives, so of course every objective needs attainment. So you have to attain every objective. When you attain every objective, of course it will increase the length of the paper. So there is no hard and fast, like if you write the systematic literature review of 10 pages, it will not be accepted. If you write of 100 pages, it will be accepted. No. So we published our first systematic literature review paper in 2016. It has just 13 studies and around 7 papers. So we received highest citation in that year, around 100 plus. Okay. So it was on pandemic. So I mean, does not matter. It's not. It does not matter. I mean, your paper is very lengthy or very small. It depends upon the objectives. How many objectives you have mentioned. I hope I answer your question, Aiza.
Yes, Prof. And one more question. For example, if a student submitted a paper for the review, for the journal database, and then sometimes the panel replies that, your systematic literature review paper are not very interesting. So sometimes, it's very critical to understand what does it mean. So can you give some advice on that?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you again for asking this question. Actually, it depends how interested your research topic is. So, for example, if you if I'm the editor of some journal, and if you have submitted me some systematic literature review on old topic, so I'll not be interested to publish that paper in my journal, because I know when I will publish this article in my journal, it may not get some good citation. So the wish of every editor is to publish those papers which get plenty of citations. So from the topic they understand, okay, whether this paper will get the citation or not. For example, if these days if you write any paper on climate change using AI, so damn sure it will take a lot of citations. Okay, if you write a literature review on generative AI in medicine, so I'm damn sure it will take a lot of citation, and it will be accepted somehow in any journal, whether it is CS journal or medicine journal. So yeah, this depends. Maybe the paper you are talking about is rejecting from everywhere because of the choice of topic, probably. I hope I answer your question.
Yes, Prof. Thank you. I think there's a question in the messages and in the chat. Can you see the chat, please, Prof? There's a question.
Sorry, Aiza.
There's a question on the floor. I think you can see in the chat.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you.
How can I improve the? Sorry, there are two questions. You mentioned 3 types of paper iconic or supporting. All these of building a literature review, like when we search papers based on keywords, cases. Okay, so no, I talked about the thesis example, Mavish. I said when you do thesis, like MS by thesis or PhD by thesis, then in thesis normally we add 3 types of paper: core paper, iconic paper, and supporting papers. Okay, so core papers are those papers which are exactly related to your area of interest. For example, if I'm working on deep learning using brain images classification, so my core papers will be those authors' papers who have worked on brain image analysis using deep learning. My iconic papers may be what is deep learning, what is medical image, what is neuron, and so on. So these are my iconic papers. Supporting papers which will justify my which will help me to justify my statement. For example, if I make some justification inside the discussion, for example, LSTM of poor results because LSTM does not work well on long textual data. So this is my assumption. So I just have to prove this assumption with the help of some literature. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So in paper, if you're writing a literature review paper, so you may have the core papers on it. But if you talk about overall thesis, you have to have all these 3 types of paper. Okay, Marina has a question like, how can we improve the critical appraisal of each paper? I always think that I'm not critical enough in reviewing my papers. Okay, very good question, Marina. So actually, it's like when I told you, if you want to jump in any research area, you have to have a very good knowledge about research area. So if you think you cannot bring some critical appraisal, it means your background knowledge is weak. So you have to improve it. For example, I see many of these students. One of my students is working on URL classification, and he recently used several transformers like mbert, BERT, DistilBERT. And he showed me, sir, mbert showed a lot of good accuracy compared to DistilBERT and SimpleBERT. I said, why? Why mbert shows a good result? So he was blunt. He said, so don't know. I'm not sure, but when I perform the experiments, mbert. So then I say, please read it. When he went home, he read about the mbert. He found out that mbert is very good for multilingual. And because our URLs belong to multiple languages, so that's the reason mbert shows a good accuracy. So then he wrote this justification in his paper. Okay. So if you want to have a good critical appraisal, so you have to have a good background knowledge on your research area and topic. Marina, I hope I answer your question. Okay. So normally what people do actually, when I ask my student to read the paper, they normally read the directly method paper and results. They never go to discussion part. Discussion part is one of the most important part in any paper. So discussion part normally provides the justifications. Why X algorithm showed better performance, why not B algorithm showed better performance. So you get the critical reviews from that part. So we must read those parts also. Okay. Any other question if you have? So should we stop either? Okay, so let's, if no more question, then we can stop here. Will it be okay, Aiza?
Yes, I think there is no more question from the floor. I think thank you so much, Prof. Dr. Gulam, for your time. Dr.
Thank you,
Yana,
thank
do you
you.
want, Dr. Yana, do you
Yana
want to say anything? Yeah, she's actually listening.
Okay, sorry, I didn't notice.
Assalamualaikum. Yeah,
Walaikum salam, ma'am. How are you, Prof?
fine. Thank you so much for today. Um,
Welcome and thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I hope everyone in the floor today learned a lot from Prof. Gulam. So thank you so much for your time. I'm also a student today, learning.
Sorry, I didn't notice when you came because I was busy in my presentation.
It's okay. I just go through. All right.
By the way, I just give me one sec, Prof. Prof. Liana helped me a lot in my PhD tenure. So thank you, ma'am. Whatever I am today is because of her supervision. I think she gave me a lot of time during my PhD. So she keep me sending on different seminars, workshops. So that helped me a lot in shaping my career. Thank you, Prof. Helping me. I always grateful to you.
I'm always a proud sister of you. Okay. Thank you so much again for today's. So I hope all others who just in the beginning of the journey of research learn a lot today. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you again for your time. Thank you so much, Gulam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Prof.
Okay,
Thank
for
you.
all, it's end of today's session, so you can focus on your assignment. So we can discuss further next week lah. Okay, thank you all. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Dr. Yana. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.